Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining our webinar on this Friday. Today we're going to discuss digital accessibility solutions, what they mean, what the different various regulations are around them, as well as some ideas of how to go about figuring out or analyzing where your accessibility issues may lie and how to resolve them. I'm Mark Meyer. I'm the president of CodeSmart and leading this webinar. On the presentation today, we'll have Abdul, Venkatesh, and Rakesh. These people are in our accessibility lab, and you'll learn more about that a little later on. So they're actually the experts on accessibility. You're on mute, so if you have questions, put them in the chat box. If we don't get to them during the webinar, we will respond to you via email or phone call and answer your questions. We'll capture them all, but we'll try to catch the questions as they come in. So this session is being recorded. We will send out an email next week with the link of how to do that so you can share it with your peers. And again, questions, you can do them online during the webinar, or at the end we'll have questions. And as I mentioned, put them into the chat pod at the bottom of the screen. So some of the topics we'll cover today is who are we? Some of you may know CodeSmart. We'll go into the details of CodeSmart and associated companies. We'll talk about the government agencies and any legal obligations around accessibility for agencies, especially if you're at all linked with federal government. We'll talk a little bit about accessibility litigations. We'll show you some of the litigations that have happened in the past, not the details, but what's happened. And most importantly, 3 steps how to become accessibility compliant. And of course, the Q&A at the end. So some of you may know CodeSmart. A few years ago, CodeSmart was partially, it's 75% acquired by PeopleTech, a international company, much larger than CodeSmart. So what this brings to CodeSmart is the ability to use the PeopleTech resources as if they were their own. So PeopleTech will go back to the parent company. They're very specialized enterprise application development, ERP systems, very large scale customers such as Microsoft, Boeing, Expedia, Amazon, Stanford University, Howard University. We have delivery centers. PeopleTech has delivery centers in the U.S., headquartered in Bellevue, Washington. A large development center in Warren, Michigan that serves the automobile industry. Another center in Houston, a very small one in Pennsylvania. And in India, we have 3 offices, Hyderabad, Bangalore, and Pune. And other locations, we have small locations in Singapore as well as Canada and Dubai. Our Flex initiative is designed to enhance our delivery. What that is, our Flex initiative is where we put shadow resources on a project so that if somebody changes out or we need more expansion on that project, people are immediately and ready to go. And that gives us an advantage in the market because we don't have to bring people in, have 2 to 4 weeks of knowledge transfer, which creates downtime on the project for the client as well as us. CodeSmart is known very well in the Olympia area, delivering custom IT solutions as well as enhancing current solutions and connecting solutions. If you've experienced CodeSmart, you know all our guys are very highly qualified. I'd say leading edge, we don't push the bleeding edge, but the leading edge in technologies. They each get a training stipend every year so they can keep up and get ahead of technologies. And you've known us as working with very expertise in working with public agencies for a number of years now. while you know us as government and federal vendor, we also do a lot of work with companies like TrueBlue, BitTitan, Car Toys, Wireless Advocates, some Fortune 1000 customers. We talked a little bit about the ownership of CodeSmart, and all that brings to us is the extended capabilities of going into the PeopleTech base of knowledge and use them for us. The companies work in a unified pool of resources. So if I need people and they happen to work for PeopleTech, we just use them as if they're CodeSmart people, and vice versa if PeopleTech needs CodeSmart people. So it's integrated as far as the resource pool. We have adopted their Flex and green sourcing solutions, and it's helped us optimize our costs and actually create efficiencies in our service delivery. So the topics we're going to cover today, just a repeat of this, is what we're going to be doing next. And I'm going to turn this over to our experts in the accessibility. Abdul Venkatesh.
Yeah, hi all. This is Venkatesh Bandaru, working as a principal accessibility consultant. So I will explain what is ADA and what is Section 508 and what are the basic differences. So ADA stands for American Disability Act. So as per this act says that any product, a building architecture, or anything which they are going to develop that should be accessible to everyone irrespective of their disability. For example, a building is there. Uh, Building contains two floors. They will keep steps. Apart from steps, they need to use some other technologies to help other kind of people to access the building architecture. And Section 508. Section 508 explains about making all the electronic information media accessible. Means electronic information means the information which is stored in the system which can be transferred from one system to other system should be accessible to everyone. So coming to the Washington accessibility standards, if we follow Section 508 standards plus some basic standards which are defined from WCAG 2.0, then we can say that the website or the electronic information is accessible. So generally, as per ADA, every every business or every organization or every school, so they need to treat everyone equally irrespective of the disabilities. But as per Section 508, whenever we are developing any electronic information, that should be accessible. So WCAG 2.0 is a standards defined. So as per WCAG 2.0 standards, if I follow WCAG 2.0 standards, I can say that my website is accessible as per ADA, American Disability Act. So if I say that WCAG 2.0, there are three levels: level A, level AA, and level AAA. So level A and level AA are the basic things for every website. In order, I mean, we need to implement level A and level AA standards to make a website accessible. So AAA is an advanced level. So if I say that my website is accessible as for WCAG 2.0 level A and level AA, I can say that my website is accessible as per ADA and as per Section 508. So these are the reference links for WCAG standards and reattribute links and the Washington accessibility standards. So this WCAG stands for Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. So this was introduced by W3C. So this WCAG was designed on four basic principles. Simply I can say that four: perceivable, operable, understandable, robust. So perceivable means the information should be perceived to everyone. Means, for example, if the information is conveyed in the form of image, the same information should be conveyed to any kind of user in alternate way. Means the same information should be conveyed to the person who is using system or a PC or a laptop operable. So if website is having many interactions, so generally there will be various kinds of users. Some people will use mouse, some people will use screen reader, some people will use keyboard. So whenever we are implementing any web application or website, that should be operable with all these things. If I'm accessing a website with the mouse, the same actions can be accessed with the help of a keyboard as well as screen reader. The next one is understandable. So I need to present the content in a way that should be understandable to everyone. Next one is robust. Robust means if I'm developing a web application and if I want to improve some features in the later stages on the future, this can be improved. Means if I am developing a web application that can be upgraded in the future days. So this WCAG is designed based on four principles. I can say four, and this can be classified into three levels: level A, level AA, and level AAA. So level A and level AA. If we follow level A and level AA, I can say that my website is accessible. Level AAA means it's an advanced level. If we consider AAA, then there will be there will be major impact on designs, and the time will be more time is required to implement level AAA. So generally, every web application, if I want to say every web application is accessible, I can say that if I follow WCAG level A and level AA, I can say that my website is accessible. So these four principles are divided into various guidelines, and these guidelines are categorized into various levels. So perceivable entirely represents about images, means for images we'll use a text alternates, for video and audio text we'll use captions, text transcript, like that. And we in some cases we will present the information through colors. So all these things will come under perceivable. Operable, it explains about how the website is accessible through keyboard, and the user should have sufficient time to access it, and the user should be able to navigate through each and every page with the help of keyboard. Means he should be operate the entire website with the keyboard and screen reader. The third one is understandable. Means the content which we are presenting, that should be simple, and it is a known language, and we have to define the language while developing the application, and we need to help the users to fill the forms, and if there are any mistakes we need to guide the users what is wrong and how to fix it, like how a user can enter his first name, last name. He can enter numbers instead of name. So I can give a suggestion that invalid name number should contain characters. And robust means this is the basic HTML validation as of now. But if you are implementing a robust thing, means if I'm developing a web application in future, if any new technology or technology upgradations are happened, this should support in the future as well. So we need to follow the basic semantic standards, and these can be categorized into various guidelines: 1.1.1, 1.2.1, like that. And these are again categorized into three categories: level A, level AA, and level AAA. Say where level A and level AA is preferable. So we don't just aim for WCAG compliance. Generally, if I follow WCAG, I can say that my website is accessible, but I cannot say that how my website is useful to anyone. So we will generally consider who each issue affects. Means, for example, if there is an issue with color, this color related issue is impacting which kinds of users, and what is the actual root cause for that issue, and what are the various ways to solve that problem, and what is the best fix. So we will also concentrate on making a website easily accessible and usable for all kind of users. This is about website accessibility litigation. If any agency, government or private agency is not accessible, and if I am not a normal user, if I am using an assistive technology to access a website, and if the website is not accessible, I can shoot a complaint on them. So these are the list of organizations where people shooted some complaints on them. So in 2012, 13, 14, 15, 16. Nowadays, web accessibility needs to be followed in every website. For every web application, it should be accessible. It is mandatory. And there are totally three steps to make a website accessible. I can say that my website is accessible compliant. So this can be categorized into three steps. So the first phase is assessment. The first step, what we will do is we will evaluate the sites from top to bottom with the help of automation tools, manual tools, and will perform an end user testing with the screen reader. And end users and real time users are there who are the actual screen reader and keyboard users. They will access the web page and they will give the feedback how easy it is and what are the basic issues and what are the challenges they faced. The second phase will consider that assessment report, and based on that assessment report we'll remediate the code. We'll make a non-accessible code to accessible code. So after that we can say that my website is accessible. In the third step we'll give some cater to the developers, and we'll give some accessibility sms subject matter experts, and they will explain the concepts to the developers so that while implementing or adding any feature, those developers can be easily implement an accessible code. So this is about zero cost program. So here we'll consider three pages web accessibility assessment. We'll identify basic three pages in any website. So for that we need the basic URL of the website. We'll identify randomly, we'll pick three pages and we'll perform assessment on that. And the results are captured in the form of in an accessibility assessment template. So this can be depends on the client requirement. So either in Word format or in Excel format. And we'll also add the complexity levels. Means for example, if an issue will take more time to fix, we'll mark it as complex, simple, medium, complex. So we'll also categorize these issues in the complexity levels, and this by this I can say that which is easy to fix, which is more time consuming to fix. And we will also provide recommendations. For example, as an end user I can test and I cannot able to access some particular components, but as a consultant what we are having is we will go through the code, we will inspect the code, we will see how the code is developed and how the code is implemented, and what is the best and easy solution to fix the issue and to make that page or to make that component accessible. So generally our accessibility assessment contains four steps. The first one is we'll perform a manual testing. The next one is pack tool. We are having a separate tool where if we provide an URL, it will crawl all the web pages and it will throw all the errors in a single shot. In the next step, we'll use NVIDIA and JAWS screen readers, which are the major screen readers used by maximum number of people. So JAWS and NVIDIA, these are the two screen readers used in Windows operating system. So by using NVIDIA and JAWS, we'll evaluate the accessibility for a web page from top to bottom by using keyboard. By using top to bottom, we'll access the page from top to bottom. We'll access the page with the keyboard keys with the shortcut keys of the screen readers. And the next step is differently disabled users. Means we are also having a usability lab where the actual end users will perform the testing. They will access the web page if there are any issues, if they cannot able to reach any component, so they will draft it. They will also have some basic development knowledge, but we are also having some accessibility subject matter experts. And apart from that, whenever we are evaluating with NVIDIA or JAWS, we look into the best market practices. For example, if I'm considering Internet Explorer, JAWS screen reader will support IE more, and if I'm using Firefox, I will use NVDA as a screen reader, which will support more. And this is the accessibility assessment and implementation. The first step is assessment. In this, we'll use some screen readers. We use some pack tool, which is developed this is our internal tool, and we'll also use color contrast analyzer to calculate the color contrast ratios. And we'll also provide the issues. What are the issues related to color contrast? And what color contrast can be preferred. what color contrast if we meet, then that can be accessible. We'll give those recommendations as well. We'll do the manual assessment by using keyboard navigation, and the technologies which we cover are HTML5, CSS3, JavaScript, and nowadays everyone is using ARIA attributes. I can also say that one advantage of doing end user testing, that is every tool which is available in the market can evaluate a web page or web application. But if the code is implemented in Angular JS or any JavaScript framework, if we run the tool cannot crawl the Angular JS or React JS code. So if we perform an end user testing only, we can say we have evaluated the web page complete, because nowadays many people are preferring the tools which are available in market only. But those tools cannot evaluate, but those tools cannot evaluate the code which was written in Angular JS and React JS. So this is the accessibility assessment approach. So in this approach, these web pages we'll gather all the web pages to be tested. This can be classified into two categories and two process, I can say, manual process and automation process. In automation process, we'll run all the automation tools, which will pick the basic common errors. And in the manual process, we'll use tools like NVDA, JAWS. For mobiles also, we are having some specific screen readers, talkback and voiceover. And with CCA, we'll evaluate color contrast ratio. We'll capture all the findings and we'll capture it in the TFS. Like sprints means for each and every phase, we'll take some set of pages and we'll evaluate and we'll perform the assessment and we'll update it in the TFS. Hanif will be explaining about accessibility implementation approach.
Hey, hi, everybody. This is Abdul Hanif, Accessibility Lead Operations at CodeSmart. So, as we have two processes, one is accessibility assessment, and the other one is sprint execution, that is accessibility implementation. So, we'll take the code base, and in the assessment, we'll find out all the bugs, and depends on all the bugs, we'll be giving to developers recommended solutions. So they'll take the assessment report as input and they'll start fixing the bugs, and that is implementation in the code. So it will be created as a sprint execution. Tasks will be created, and those tasks will be assigned to individual developers who are expertise in fixing all accessibility violations. So while they are fixing, once they fix it at a first level, again the accessibility testers will again test the web page or application, whether the accessibility violation has fixed it or not, and with that fix, any new violations has created or not. So again, it will go to the testing. We have UAT, and then finally we will be, after all accessibility executions, we will be providing that into production. Even after that production, we keep giving the support in the accessibility area always. So this is all about our accessibility implementation approach, where we will be fixing all the bugs. So how to be staying compliant with in the accessibility area? That means it can be section 508 or as per the uh, s- uh, Chief Commissioner Officer of Washington. So how we make the application accessible is by help considering some of the assistive technologies with the real users as well. So as Venkatesh Bandaru explained about usability lab, so in our organization we have usability lab with some different ability people who are some low vision users who are having some motor disabilities. So those developers and accessibility experts will be using their specialized keyboards for the motor disability guys, and our low vision users and blind employees will use the screen readers. Those are NVDA, JAWS, Chromebox, and depends on the client's requirement. Sometimes we target for the iOS, that is Mac, we'll use the voiceover and talkback. So there are some screen magnifiers we'll be using with some of the tools. They will be zooming their website. So some low content which is of the small size in the pixel cannot be visible to the low vision user. So they'll be using screen magnifiers. These all operations will be done in our usability lab. So in our next slide, you can see the our usability lab of the operations. So he is Mr. Ramesh Kodati, one of our accessibility expert, and he is a 80% blind, and he'll be using his screen reader with the help of his headsets. And rest of all the accessibility experts will be watching in the bigger screens, and we'll be capturing all his expressions and how easy for him to access the website or application. So this is our accessibility assessment lab. We'll call it as usability lab. Yeah, in the usability lab, there is testing of two processes. So apart from making it WCAG compliant or Section 508 compliant or a particular state compliant, we will target more with the help of usability testing. So the usability testing will create the actually the factor of how good it is. For example, let's say if I want to register a ticket or if I want to buy a ticket in a so and so date and so and so from source to destination on so and so time and a particular window. So how our real user is actually targeting that buying a ticket or booking his flight, something like. So these will be operations, how he is operating, that will be captured here. That means how best we are giving our application easy to understand for all the kinds of users. We will make things here, simple things will be simpler and complex things will be possible. This is our usability testing first approach. So the same we will deliver in the way that this is our actually our accessibility maturity model, not only from the accessibility compliance level, we will also gives the best possible solutions and best experiences to the user and to the clients how it should be easier. Sometimes we'll also suggest the clients to in if at all any design changes are required, and the same will be testing. So some of the case studies which we executed from couple of years. So our best clients are we executed a lot of projects in the Microsoft, Stanford University, and there are some e-commerce websites and life insurance companies. In the Microsoft, as US state or any state of US maintains the Section 508, the Microsoft has a separate uh, grading. They will be having a gradings of D, C, B, A. So D is not accessible, C is accessible, B is it is very accessible to all kinds of users, and A is like something a product or any single page, we can say that. So we execute a lot of Microsoft projects, and we are happy to say that we got a lot of B grades in the Microsoft. So these are some of the our case studies. Yeah. So I'll hand out to Mark here. So, yeah, I'll guess.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Go ahead. So some of the next steps, obviously those of you on the call here probably have an idea of a strategy for the accessibility program. We can help you, give you the best practices we've seen of other clients who have built their own strategy. So if you want some help in there. Part of the strategy is to ground the program into the prioritized inventory of your digital assets, and we can help in that and actually do it in a proof of concept, which is no cost to the client. Again, reach out to us and we can tell you more of that. The automated analysis of accessibility issues, and you can factor that into your prioritization. As you've heard from our team, we have not only a tool, but does a very good job of evaluating against WCAG standards, but we also do the manual testing. So the analysis is both of that. And then you could take that up to your leadership and say, okay, here's where we're at. We're prioritized by most severe to least severe. Here's my recommendation of how we remediate these accessibility issues and get a plan together. I understand all the state agencies already have an accessibility coordinator on point. I believe maybe some of you on this call may be that role, and that's very good. We're also working very closely with Ryan Licensure at OCIO. I've been through this with him. He understands our offerings and our abilities and skills, and he's very excited about continuing to team up with us on this. So through Ryan, we're recognized by WCAG as being skilled and experienced in this business. So if your WCAG coordinator that you work with is not familiar, I'd be glad to spend some time and show them not only this slide and webinars, but actually the results of the tools we've run on some agencies already. So we have questions and answers. I don't see any in the chat box yet. Does anybody have any questions for us?
Meanwhile, I want to add there are many tools, automated tools, where we can evaluate accessibility. But in the recent days, the people are using Angular JS, Angular 1, Angular 2, Angular 1.4 like that. The technology is upgrading, the tools are upgrading, but there may be, I can say that no tools are available, no automated tools are available in the market which will evaluate Angular JS code. They cannot show accessible there. So for anything, at any cost, if we perform an end user testing, that will be the best assessment or best accessibility test. Why? Because actual users are the end users. So here we'll perform the end user testing and we'll show the errors and we'll give the recommendations.
Yes, we'll send a slide deck, a link to the slide deck and the recording of this to everybody who's attended, so you can review the link again and pass it around and share it within your group or agency. So I will also make it a point to reach out to each of you and just have a quick discussion where you are in your accessibility process in your organization, and see if we can get any of our experts on the line for a individualized conversation and pick up some pointers and, you know, good things to do and traps to avoid. If there are no further questions, I think we'll call this a good webinar, and I thank you all for attending. Again, I put my email into the chat box, so please send me, if you have any questions, send them directly to me. If I don't answer them, then I will be glad to pass them along and make sure you get your answers. Thank you, everyone, for attending.